Students, welcome to the concluding part of today's lecture 9, and we will sum up the second unit with this particular lecture. And we have been looking at the nuclear shell model at present, and we saw that for a nuclear shell structure to exist, we must have a potential, and so many different type of potentials have been suggested by different people, and some of the potentials are like this. There is the square well potential, and based on this, most of the scattering and other important studies about nucleus has been done basing on the square well potential. So potentials for shell model. That means it has to be any one of these. So potential, square well potential. Then harmonic oscillator potential has also been suggested. Harmonic oscillator potential. Then a particular type of potential arising due to spin and orbit interaction. This has also been suggested, and but none of this could explain all the properties of the nucleus. So still yet we are yet to have a proper potential to describe that the shell structure, and for us this much knowledge is enough. As you have seen, it's quite new, the whole concept of the shell model, in comparison to the development of nuclear physics. And nuclear physics as it is still in the developing state, so this is still going on, and for mathematical simplicity we often use the square well potential. Then again, now what about the types? There are again different types of shell models, like the extreme single. We have the extreme types of shell models. So under shell model we have again these divisions: types of shell model, extreme single particle. This is number 1. So in this shell model, you see the nucleons of an atoms are considered to fill up shells in which nucleons with mutually opposite pairs, spin pairs of this filled shell becomes an inert core and are in the ground state. So that is what they take this like this. That means, what did I say? Let me repeat. The nucleons, you see that nucleons are thought to be fill up the shells, in which how? By opposite pairs, because you soon see nuclear physics is spin dependent. So they pair up like this. Then we have the single particle model. We have the single particle model. And how is this single particle model? The single particle model is like this. Single particle model, the properties of the nucleus is ascribed to only a single unpaired nucleon, because you see we will always have a unpaired nucleon in case of odd A, and there we'll have this single particle model. And then number 3 is the individual particle model. This is also called the individual particle model. In this model, all the nucleons are taken into account. This is different, very different from the single particle model, where only one nucleon is taken, and it is assumed that this particular nucleon moves in the field of all the other nucleons. You see, we had a problem at the beginning that opposing to the atomic state where we had a positive core, and then the electrons could be considered to be moving in the potential produced by this. Here in case of nucleus, we saw that since all of them are nucleons like this, all are equal in all respects, how could we consider the motion like this? So in this single particle model, what happened that a particular nucleon is considered to be moving under the force and the potential given by all the other nucleons like this. That is like this. And in the independent or the individual particle model, what happens is that all the particles are together taken into account, and this is also called the many particle shell model. Students, this is just for your information, because in your case, since they have removed the quantitative part, only the qualitative part, these are very highly mathematical actually models. So we can only learn these things like this. And then we also have something called the collective model of the nucleus. So collective model of the nucleus is different from the shell model. Actually, here we have both the things. Collective model takes attributes of both the liquid drop model and the shell model. So together we have the collective model of the nucleus. So collective model of the nucleus. So it appears as if we have nothing to study in this particular unit, but then it is 10 marks worth of your syllabus. So what would be important from your examination point of view? First of all, liquid drop model, the nature of nuclear force. You may have questions from there. Then we have the nature of nuclear force. Number 2, we have the liquid drop model. In liquid drop model, you will have the assumptions taken in a liquid drop model. Then A is assumptions. B, the similarities between a liquid drop and a nucleus. C is the dissimilarities. We had named only 2, I think, dissimilarities. And then what are the reasons for the failure? I mean, what are the demerits of this model? So this is there, and in your fission chapter you will have some more things related to the liquid drop model, which may be also asked in this chapter, in this unit. So we will learn it when we learn the nuclear fission and such things. Then we come to the shell model. We had only 3 topics here. In the shell model, first of all, why it was required, the importance of the magic numbers, and there are a few more reasons actually which I have not mentioned. The reasons are like this: the main properties on which idea of shell model rests. So shell model is, first of all, yes, existence of magic numbers, that is A, which I have repeated several times, magic numbers. Then you move on to discontinuities of nuclear masses. Nuities of nuclear masses. Then we have comparative half-life of beta emitters. So these things will be difficult for you to understand now unless we go to those part of your syllabus. Comparative half-life of beta emitters. Then we have magnetic and quadrupole moment, and there is something called the electric quadrupole moment, which arises in nucleus those nucleus which are not spherical in shape actually. Any charge distribution which is not spherical, this gives rise to a quadrupole moment. Actually, while measuring the quadrupole moment was detected in a nucleus, then people came to know that okay, the nucleus may not be totally spherical. So quadrupole moment gives an idea about the shape of the nucleus. Shape of the nucleus means the shape of the how the charges are distributed. So since most of it, the protons are the positively charged particles, it will definitely give an idea of the physical, geometrical size and shape of the nucleus. And magnetic moment we have already learned. So these actually point towards the existence of a shell structure. So if someone asks what are the why the shell structure was came into being, or what is the background under which shell structure came up, we can say these magic numbers and these things, and we also have a long list of evidences which I will share with you, just like I give the example of tin, lead and all these things, evidences of existence of shell structure. That is one thing we have to study. Then additionally, the types of potentials that we had mentioned just now, the harmonic oscillator, the square wave and all this, if these things will not be asked for you because it doesn't constitute a syllabus, but then if you are asked to write a note on shell model, then it would be good if you put these things here, potentials and the different types of shell model. So with this we come to an end of our second unit, and we move on to a big unit, which we will move on from our next class to a big unit, which is nuclear reactions. So I'd like to stop my class here. I'll be sharing the study material of the last class lecture 8 and lecture 9 together with this note.